With star sauce from Carl's Jr. Delicious, bite-sized, 100% white meat chicken tender bites. You can munch, crunch, chomp, bite, nibble, snack, and savor any way you want. Just don't forget to dip them in our tangy sweet star sauce. Try our new hand-breaded tender bites however you want. Only at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy. Available for limited time after regular breakfast hours at participating Carl's Jr. restaurants. Price participation may vary.
Tell those other dealers to stuff it. Right now, used car values are higher than ever, which means your vehicle is like gold, and Valley Kia of Modesto knows it. So if you're stuck in a loan or lease, Valley Kia wants to help you get released today. Even if you're over mileage, have months left, or still owe thousands, Valley Kia will pay off your trade, no matter what you owe, and will even buy your car for cash today without you buying one from us. That's right. Valley Kia will buy your car, truck, or SUV today without you even buying one from us. Then feast your eyes on a brand new Kia with zero money down and no payments for up to 6 months. That's a brand new Kia with zip, zero, zilch, zero money down, and no payments until spring 2022. So what are you waiting for? It's time to capitalize on your trade. Valley Kia of Modesto. Pre-approved without hurting your credit at valleykiaofmodesto.com. With approved credit through Cape Mass. Approved payments by dealer. As tax title license. Negative equity may be refinanced. Expires 12/5/2021.
जिसकी कोई भी वीकली, मंथली या ईयरली फीस नहीं, कोई क्वांटिटी दी रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं, जद मर्जी कैंसिल करवा सकते हो। टीए, पेट्रो, सैब्रोज, रोड रेंजर्स, एम बेस्ट ते होर बहुत सारे फ्यूल स्टेशंस तो वधिया डिस्काउंट मिलेगा। कैरियर नु पूरा डिस्काउंट दिसेगा। इस फ्यूल कार्ड दे ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਟਰੱਕਿੰਗ ਮਲਟੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ 4082722600 408-272-2600 ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝਾਉਣਗੇ।
Amazon is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, this is DJ Super Save with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app at the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code MINI and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code MINI to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back is added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code MINI to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code MINI.
Shop on eBay this holiday season to get more for your dough on stand mixers, or get more for your buck on this season's hottest tech and gaming gear. And on eBay, you can even get more Thanksgiving deals with a second helping of savings. The holidays are here. You can get more because you save more on premium brands with eBay's exclusive Thanksgiving deals. Get more when you get it on eBay.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is creative, collaborative, intellectually challenging, and every day is new. See why teachers have better work stories by going to teach.org and learn more about becoming a teacher. Brought to you by teach.org and the Ad Council.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to a lot of people who love sports. It's all fair and level. We really do appreciate it. Today is a beautiful November. It is the day that you remember. It's the 16th of November. I think that's the Ohio players. I'm always trying something different. I think I'll let the Ohio players stick to, or is it Earth, Wind, and Fire? At least you got to know the group. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, this standard of the world. If you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton at Big C Sports sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, are actually 18 podcast applications now. They keep changing them. I mean, There's 18 podcast applications where you can follow Big C Sports Podcast, and I really do appreciate that. So the main thing that you got to learn is say, welcome to the show. Oh, Big C Sports Podcast. Just say the name. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Alexa, Spotify Speaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeart-Radio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, GeoSavan out of London, England. Man, I got to catch my breath. I haven't even had turkey yet. It's all fair in other words. Let a brother catch his breath. Haven't even had the first bite of turkey, if there's any turkey to be had. GeoSavan out of London, England. Podtail Podcast, YouTube. You can find us on Hubhopper, Stitcher, Podcast, Radio Online Podcast, Repod Podcast, and also Luminary Podcast. Just say, play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll see our apps pop up somewhere in the universe. And then on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate that. Just gotta say, play Big C Sports Podcast. It's bound to come up someplace. Can't guarantee all the time, but I know it's on the applications. I just gotta remember, 18 applications. I try to pay homage to all of them because they all really mean a lot to the success of Big C Sports Podcast. Love thinking my family's legacy on my mother's side, the matriarch of the family. My great-grandmother called her Mama Hattie Leach, really a wonderful person. Made sure the family stayed together through thick and thin. Really do appreciate that. And then also, I guess you could say, the patriarch of the family, my great-grandfather called him Pop. He's a former Negro League baseball player. Also well-known in the community for making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. So people clap for him. He was known for saying, boy, get out of that barn. Oh, man, things that you think about when you're a kid. Really appreciate that. Also, my grandmother called her Mud Dish. She was a seer, wonderful business person. Did a lot of things that kept the family together, especially things that kept me out of trouble, all fair and level war. And my grandfather, Hezekiah, was also a great business person, a savvy business person, did a lot of things to keep the family together. And then my beautiful mom helped start a Head Start program in Northern California and helped win the Little League Championship of the universe. Really appreciate that. Give mama some praise. African-American woman, only African-American coach in the league, and then woman too. And some of the gooder boys, they said, I'll not tolerate it. But we won a championship anyway. She said, if you don't want to play, then quit. It's all fair. And level war, really appreciate that. And then on my father's side, the patriarch of the family, Albert Curry, had 2 service stations in Oakland, California. Also started 2 churches and then built the 3rd, one in the Central Valley. My grandmother, Alberta Curry, helped with the churches and also the service station, really the glue that helped keep the family strong, all fair and level war. And then my father, retired Air Force mechanic and fighter pilot with the United States Air Force, made sure that he fixed the planes right and had as many screws to put back on as he had to take off. That's all fair and level war. And my brother Todd with the bombastic voice, that's where I get all that loud talking from. Give them all praise, praise, praise. Give them some praise. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports. And that's why I always say, let's get ready to rumble. Like the 49ers are rumbling last night. I told you they would win. Hey, at least I'm 1 for 30. It's all fair and level war. I said the 49ers would win, and they beat down the Los Angeles Rams 31-10 over at Levi Stadium, San Francisco, Santa Clara. But as I always start the show, and I say, let's get ready to rumble. SB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. As I say, welcome to the show. No scripts, no 3-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I only do the show with my higher self, with God's blessings. And I love when I get stats from my son Malcolm. He's all over it, especially the NBA sends me stuff on the NBA on a daily basis. Also college basketball too. My daughter Daisy would help me set up for sporting events when college coaches would come to the West Coast. Really do appreciate that, setting up interviews and helping make sure they all have what they needed. And then Big C doing all his great knowledge. It's all fair and level work. Give them all praise. Give them all praise, praise, praise. Give everybody some praise. Really do appreciate the Big C Sports Podcast show. I love doing it so much. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I do the broadcasting of the show. I do the sound effects. And then the commercials outside of what the agency and New York does. A lot of good things coming from 2022. I provide the stats. I provide the storytelling. I do the play-by-play where I go, touchdown, home runs, replay, play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. Touchdown, Niners. My goodness. You know they've beaten the Rams 5 times in a row? All fair and love and war. And then I upload the show to 18 podcast applications, and then they go all over the world. Really do appreciate that. I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports, September 12th, 2015. I think, as always, I love to say, I love honoring God. As I say in the book of Genesis chapter 13, verse 15 says, "For all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever." And the book of James 4:2 said, "We have not because we ask not." So if you want something, just ask. Just ask and give God praise. It's all fair in love and war. I love giving praise to our veterans, our military veteran crisis hotline. Over in San Francisco, Santa Clara last night, they had the United States flag stretched out from end zone to end zone, from sideline to sideline, and then they had a huge military aircraft fly over, and it was flanked by a smaller jet fighters. But that's our veterans. That's our military service that keeps us all safe. And I love the fact that I pay homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline that Big C had told me about 3 years ago. Not just on the Veterans Day, but every day. If you know any veteran going through issues, there's help for them. Pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and give our veterans some praise. Give them praise, praise, praise. I love giving our veterans praise. It's all fair and love and war. And again, everybody needs help sometime. It's all fair and love and war. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phone and say play. Big C Sports Podcast. You will see our apps pop up all over the world. I really do appreciate that. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, and it's on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse. For all of you focused on real estate, go to the nationalrealestatepost.com. The nationalrealestatepost.com. You'll find out more of what's going on in real estate. Also, if you want to find out about more mortgage news, go to mortgagenewsdaily.com. And if you want to find out the FHA limits per county in the United States, just go to, it's a website you got to go to. It's very accurate. It's called entp.hud.gov. That's entp.hud.gov. Or you can also call 800-772-8624. Give it some praise. All friend level. You find that with the Big C team, trying to get 10,000 real estate agents and brokers to transact business all over this great country. Part of the Big C team. Really do appreciate that. For all of you out there betting, never bet more than you can lose. You know, there's sports bets that are almost in every state telling you how you can put up some money and win some money. Oftentimes, you just get had. You get had, you got hoodwinked. So give the PSA that says, if you find anyone who has a gambling problem, don't bet. I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron. They give you these advertising sites and they say, if you have a gambling problem, don't bet. But I say, if you bet, you have a gambling problem. Give that praise. Hey, just being honest with you. All fair and level word. So I love saying that. Also, I want to say thank you for Budweiser Zero sponsoring Big C Sports Podcast. It has 0% alcohol, but 100% on its game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you got to eat it with the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all this exotic meat. And if it tastes good, quit asking what you eat. Like, what is this meat? Don't worry about it. It tastes good, don't it? Put it all in your mouth and eat all of it. Don't leave anything. You know, sometimes people don't have anything to eat. Make sure you pick up the phone and reach out for help if you're going through anything. I really love coming up and doing the Big C Sports Podcast. There's so many great things happening. I want to talk a lot about college football, in fact, what I like to call the college football universe. Really appreciate that. Going to rank some of the top teams on a beautiful Tuesday and see where they stand. It was nice being in the Bay Area yesterday. There's a vibe to it, especially when the 49ers are playing. Bang, bang, Niner game. And the crowd's nuts at Levi Stadium in San Francisco, Santa Clara. It's a beautiful place. It's a great time out. The 49ers played like they want to get back into the playoffs. I heard some good boys saying there's gold in them there hills. Give it some praise. There's gold in them there hills. There is gold in them there hills. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk about some college football in the words of the former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. President Joe Biden in college debt. End it. Wipe it all out. Just wipe it all out. You can hear it first on Big C Sports. We'll take the pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right. We are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 18 podcast applications and then 4 TV applications. I really do appreciate the growth with Big C Sports. It's a great thing to do a podcast. Also, to talk about the game at Levi Stadium, San Francisco, Santa Clara. I said that the 49ers would win that game, and hey, it's good to be, even if I get 1 out of 30, that's not bad, so I'll take it. But what a beatdown. The 49ers playing like I thought they would play all season long. If they win the rest of the games, they're right now 4-5. They could end up being 12-5 on the season. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they have a good chance. They have as good a chance as anybody else that's talking about how they're going to play the remainder of the season for NFL football. And I think the 49ers, with what they did last night, is going to be great. But I want to start off with what I always love saying. Are you ready for some college football? Yeah. Some good old boys down saying, yeah. I was like, what? What in the world is that? Yeah. I heard it on a sports talk show. Maybe they had too many libations in the system. All fair and level. But number 20 in Big C's college football, top 20, the 7-3 Utah Utes. They had a dominant performance at times, but against Arizona, it was kind of a so-so win. But this is also a team that lost to to Oregon State. Now they have Oregon coming up, but it's a good program up in Utah. They are a really good team. Whittingham's done a good job with that program. And when you think about it, the quarterback, his name is Cam Rising. He completed 19 of 30 passes, 294 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. And what was one of his best games of the season, TJ Platter had 199 yards rushing on 25 carries with 2 touchdowns. But the Utes had a lot of trouble trying to put away an Arizona team that's just really hurting on the season. But it's all fair and level war. They are a game ahead of Arizona State in the standings in the Pac-12 South. But they have a big game coming up against Oregon. I think Oregon's going to edge Utah and beat Utah in that game, but I'll talk about that later when I get up into where I have Oregon ranked in Big C's college football power rankings. Give the Utah Utes some praise. What's a Ute? A Ute is a tribe. Number 19, Iowa Hawkeyes. They're 8-2 on the season. When you think about it, Alex Padilla, the quarterback, in place of injured Spencer Pratis, and despite getting outgained 409 yards to 278, Iowa extended its winning streak against Minnesota to 7 games with a 27-22 win in Iowa City. So they're a good team, but there was a time when I think about Iowa, they're no longer by the Hayden Fry's Iowa Hawkeyes. They would smack you in the mouth. But Iowa, they were number 2 in the country at one time, and now they've fallen off the ladder, if that makes sense to you. But I still think they have a good program in the Big Ten, all fair and level work. Going to go to number 18 in Big C's college football power rankings. The Pittsburgh Panthers are 8-2. And when you think about the Panthers, Thursday night against North Carolina, they had jumped out to a 23-7 lead. They allowed the Tar Heels to come back and then tie the game before going into overtime. When you think about it, they have a good quarterback by the name of Kenny Pickett, and they had a 30-23 win. Pickett threw for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also had an interception. He set the school record for career passing yards. So I want to give Pickett a lot of praise for setting the school record. Touchdown Dan Marino went to that school. Give that good boy some praise. When you breaking records that Dan Marino threw in that same field, he did a good thing. So Pitt's 8-2, off to his best start since opening 9-1 in 2009. They're the favorite of the ACC Coastal Division. That's a program. Remember, Tony Dorsett played at Pitt. Also, the great Aaron Donald played at Pitt. They have a lot of good programs at that program. A lot of good programs over the years with that program. Number 17 out of the Big Ten, the Wisconsin Badgers. They are 7-3 on the season. And when you think about it, Wisconsin ran 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. His name is Ches Maliski with 300. I think it was 35-7. Yeah, 35-7 win over Northwestern. And then, Northwestern's only 3-7. You don't expect a lot out of them. But when you think about this program, Wisconsin, Russell Wilson's program, they topped 30 points in 3 of his last 4 games after hitting that mark just once in the first half of the season. So give the Wisconsin Badgers some praise. Give them some praise. It's all fair and level well. They're starting to play some good football. Now, number 16, the Houston Cougars, they are 9-1. the Cougars clinched the berth in the AAC championship game for the first time since 2015. So give this some praise. Getting that done for the first time since 2015. They're a really good football team, 9-1. And when they think about it, Alton McCaskill ran for 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the defense was doing this thing. They beat up on tempo, held them to just 10 first downs, and they picked off 3 passes. Clayton Troon had continued his high streak, throwing 2 more touchdowns on 21 of 34 passing, 224 yards. He's thrown for 14 touchdowns this season. I know they're not going to be in the playoffs, but give them praise. They have a chance to knock off Cincinnati. That's a big game coming up. Keep your eye on the Houston Cougars against the Cincinnati Bearcats. Number 15, University of Texas, San Antonio. The Roadrunners. You know, remember Roadrunner from Bugs Bunny? The Roadrunner was always hard to beat up. I mean, you could always try to get him, but he always found a way to get away from Wile E. Coyote. But you think about it, University of Texas, San Antonio, they were trailing Southern Miss 17-10 late in the third in the Alamo Dome, but they also finished, the final 15 minutes turned out to be a great way of playing football for that program. They got real physical in the University of Texas, San Antonio. The Eagles turned into a secure 27-7 win. Starting running back Sincere McCormick is the real deal. He only had 90 yards on 90 carries, but he's very elusive, and that's a program that's going to make some noise before the end of the season. And, they already made some noise. They're 10-0 after 10 games. That deserves some praise. Deserves a lot of praise. That's hard to win games in college football. Number 14, Big C's Power Football, Power 20. BYU Cougars are 8-2. BYU has the comfort of a bye week after beating down Idaho State 59-14 last week. People say, oh, that's a beat up. This same BYU program, they put 66 on the scoreboard against Virginia that just lost to Notre Dame, I think 28-3. 66 points on Virginia. They only put 59 on Idaho State, so they thought they were playing basketball. But the Cougars travel to Georgia Southern next week for a crucial game, and Los Angeles will play against USC. USC's down this year, but what a game that the Trojans, that they found a way to beat the BYU Cougars. That would really help people feel better, but USC has to rebuild that program. BYU could have a great chance at a New Year's Six bowl game this season. If the Cougars beat the Trojans, they would improve to 6-1 against Power 5 competition this season. If the Cougars beat the Trojans, why not just join the Pac-12? All fair in level war. Number 13 in Big C's. Oh my goodness, Big C's NFL college football power rankings. They're 9-1. The Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma managed just 260 yards of offense and 14 points. Both new lows for the Lincoln Riley team, and could never get anything going. And Caleb Williams, who threw 2 interceptions, was benched in the third quarter for Spencer Rattler. They were playing on musical chairs at quarterback, who was sacked twice on third down on his 2 drives. Kennedy Brooks had just 51 yards, and then Baylor had 2 100-yard rushers, Abram Smith and quarterback Jerry Bohannon. And now the college football playoff talks are out of the window for OU. That's the first time they had lost in 17 games. Give that 17 games unbeaten streak some praise, but they came up into a team that was just ready to play them, and Baylor got it done, all fair and level war. Number 12 in Big C's college football power rankings, the Baylor Bears are 8-2. Dave Arnott seemed to be the one with the secret recipe for beating Lincoln Riley coach team. A year after becoming the first team to hold the Sooners to under 300 yards, Baylor held the Sooners to a new low in the Riley era, just 260 yards. Not the days of back in the day with Barry Switzer. They would roll for 400 yards a game. Well, while Gary Bohannon missed a few deep balls that could have blown the game open through 1 interception, Abram Smith carried the Baylor Bears. I'm telling you, that good boy got his chest in the wind, averaged 7.4 yards per carry, racked up 148 yards on 20 carries, and now they're knocking on the door of that Big 12 championship. All fair and level war, even though I think it's going to end up in the hands of the Cowboys from Oklahoma State. It's all fair and level war. Number 11 in Big C's college football power rankings, Ole Miss. The Rebels, they're 8-2. You think about Lane Kiffin, he's going to take a 29-19 win over number 11 Texas A&M to improve on to 8-2 on the season. When you think about it, they had quarterback Matt Corral threw just 1 touchdown pass. Jerron Ely ran for 152 yards, and then the offense stalled inside the A&M 25-yard line. But A&M's a big physical team, and Ole Miss, them good boys, they handled A&M. I thought they beat them, but not so decisively. Give them some praise. That win that A&M had over Alabama doesn't look so dominant now. Number 10, Wake Forest Deacons. They are 9-1 on the season. After losing this perfect season last week, Wake Forest responded with a 45-42 win against North Carolina State to remain unbeaten in the ACC play. And they trailed briefly after North Carolina State returned the second half kickoff for a touchdown. But when you think about quarterback Sam Hartman accounted for 4 touchdowns, 3 passing and 1 rushing to make up for his 3 interceptions. But Wake Forest, they did a good job. They limited North Carolina State to just 3 of 14 on third down conversion, but they did allow 408 yards. I give them a high ranking just with a little bit of cringe in my teeth. I think they're lucky that they play in the ACC, and that's why they are 9-1 on this season. I'm going to go, how about them Cowboys? Dallas and Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are 9-1. And since a tight loss to Iowa State on October 23rd, Mike Gundy's Cowboys, they've gotten a lot better. They've outscored their last 3 opponents by complying 142-23, including 63-17, a beatdown of TCU. Nobody expected that. Give that some praise. That was a mighty win. When you think about it, that's a good football team. Really like what they're doing. When you think about it, 42 straight points. That more than just put the game away, but the defense was dynamite. They're a very dominant team. The Cowboys running backs, Dominic Richardson, Jalen Warren, Desmond Jackson, and Jalen Nason combined to rush 47 times, 384 yards. Give those good boys some praise. Those Cowboys are probably going to win the Big 12. In fact, they might pick to win the Big 12 championship. It was all fair and level war. I'm going to go to Big C's college football. Number 8, Notre Dame Fighting Irish play like a champion. They're 9-1. Man, I love the Notre Dame, the ambiance. They play like a champion. Touchdown, Jesus. But does anyone want to see this program again get knocked out in the college football playoffs? If they earn the right to go, they earn the right to go. But they 28-3 victory over Virginia. But keep in mind, BYU, which is ranked lower than Notre Dame, they put 66 points on Virginia. I think it was 66-44, somewhere in there. But Notre Dame scored 28. But 66 points, double the point total, is what BYU did against Virginia. So when you think about it, no single Irish skill player accrued more than 100 yards on the ground or in the air. Quarterback Jack Cohn threw the ball for only 132 yards. Yet Notre Dame found a way to win. I'm telling you, Virginia came into Saturday's game boasting the number 1 offense of the nation, total yards per game, 545 yards. But Notre Dame played a lot more physical, held them just 278 yards. But Notre Dame, they'll have a probably unbeaten season. I mean, along the way, the rest of the way, they'll most likely finish 11-2 or 11-1. They have a game against Stanford, which could go either way. Stanford tends to play them well. And then they have another game that they got to finish up. But I just don't want to see them get knocked around again in the Final Four. Number 7, who's got it better than us? The great Michigan Wolverines, led by Coach Jim Harbaugh. They're 9-1. The Wolverines got a late touchdown from tight end Eric All in the game against Penn State to go up 21-17 after they fell behind in the fourth quarter. And what I love about these programs, their crowd's amazing. Whether you're at Michigan or Penn State, their crowd is absolutely amazing. The defense pressured Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford on 38% of his dropbacks, and the pressure resulted in 7 sacks and held Clifford to just 2 of 7 passing for only 27 yards. Is that amazing? On plays where he was pressured. And then you think about Blake Cronum, and then Hassan Haskin took out they had a great day. 156 yards on 31 carries to get that win. Now, don't tip your hat too soon. They have Maryland standing in the way between them and a potential top 5 showdown with Ohio State at the end of the season. That's a game that everybody would wake up and watch in my household growing up. Michigan, Ohio State, USC, UCLA, Oklahoma, Texas, those kind of rivalries. Can't wait to see that all fair and level war. Number 6 in Big C's college football power rankings, the Michigan State Spartans. They're 9-1 on the season. When you think about quarterback Peyton Throne, threw for 287 yards and 4 touchdowns, while Kenneth Walker III, who's an amazing running back, ran for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Throne now has 21 touchdowns on the season and is tied for most by a Spartan player through 10 games. The Michigan State defense did allow Maryland quarterback Tua Tagovailoa to throw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, but was able to hold the Terps to just 97 yards on the ground. And that Michigan State, they know they got a big run coming up also later in the year against Ohio State. Give them some praise. That's a great football program Quit looking at teams that are undefeated and look at teams that play good football. Michigan State plays good football. You know, you'd be nuts. You'd be absolutely nuts, like the crowd at Ohio State, the horseshoe. They're absolutely nuts. And the Buckeyes are nuts. You'd be nuts not to think that Ohio State is not going to win the Big Ten championship. It would be an upset if they don't. Purdue had a chance to try to pull the upset. Didn't happen. But think about what OSU did. They put up some tremendous number. 624 yards of offense led by talented quarterback C.J. Stroud out of California Oaks Christian High School. He went 31 of 38, 361 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Give that good boy some praise. You throw 5 touchdowns against a team that was looking for an upset? Give that good boy some praise. I love what he did. And then also, Garrett Wilson returned with a monster day after missing last week. He caught 10 passes, 126 yards, and 3 touchdowns, plus a 51-yard touchdown. And then it was a touchdown run. Jackson Smith also added another 9 catches, 139 yards. The defense wasn't perfect. They gave it 390 yards to Purdue, but Purdue's a good team. But you still got to say, the Ohio State Buckeyes, give them praise. All they do is win, 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 no matter what. The only loss to Pac-12 power, Oregon. Speaking of Pac-12 power, Oregon, they got a good thing going too. I want to bring up number 3, the Cincinnati Bearcats. The Bearcats are 10-0, and I want to give them praise for being 10-0, even though they haven't not been that impressive. They haven't been an impressive 10-0, but 10-0 is 10-0, and that's why I want to give them praise at number 4. The Bearcats had 31 unanswered points on Friday against South Florida in a 45-28 win on the road. They're still unbeaten. Desmond Ridder is the real deal. Passed 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. Set the school record with 79 career touchdown passes. 79 career touchdown passes for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Give that good one some praise. Give them praise, praise, praise. That's a good performance, and I really love paying attention to the college kids that can go out and have a great performance like that. But Deshaun Pace had an interception, and Ryan Montgomery's 55-yard touchdown run on the next play sealed the victory for the Bearcats. I don't think they're as good as their record is, but when you win the way they've been winning, close games, they had that close game against Tulsa that lost to UC Davis, or Division II power. And anyway, but give them praise, they're undefeated. I'm not going to take any shade off of their accomplishments. They deserve to be ranked high. Number 3 in the country, quack, 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 quack. They got to flap their wings this week. The Oregon Ducks, they are 9-1. Unlike previous games, Oregon came out, and they came out strong against Washington State. They went up 14-0, but hey, Washington State came back and tied that game. But the Ducks, they came out of their slumber and then ensured that they would get a win. They came on strong in the second half with a 38-24 win, and they needed to keep their playoff march going. Quarterback Anthony Brown played a great part of winning that game for the Oregon Ducks. He was efficient. He's a manager, 17 of 22 passes, and then running for 122 yards. When you think about it, Oregon found success on the ground game once again. They can run the football with Travis Dye, and their defense is legit. They don't have to have that Skip Kelly run the ball every 13 seconds kind of thing. But this Oregon team, if they can knock off Utah with a little bit of help from some Pac-12 officials, because I'm just being honest, the Pac-12 needs Oregon in order to have a chance at the college football playoffs. Just like in the SEC, you don't think they make sure they have a little bit of home cooking in those stadiums to make sure that they can get the SEC into the college football playoffs? I'm not calling for shenanigans. What I'm just saying, the Pac-12 needs Oregon to stay undefeated, if that makes sense to you. I'm not tampering either. I'm just saying they need a hurricane. Ducks like hurricanes. Oregon got to beat Utah. Got to beat Utah for all the pride, all the money that the Oregon program has. If you can't beat Utah, don't talk about beating Georgia. You're going to play Georgia next year. And then don't talk about beating Alabama. And even if you look at, you already beat Ohio State. So no matter what Oregon does against Utah, they already have a big win over Ohio State. But they got to beat Utah. They gotta beat Utah. Number 2 in college football Big C's power rankings, the Alabama Crimson Tide. And they had a beatdown. They almost lost to LSU. I won't say almost lost. They won 2014. That was not a beatdown. UCLA beat LSU. Think about this. UCLA beat LSU 38-27. Could have been 50-27. Alabama beat them 2014. I'm not saying UCLA could beat Alabama. It's any given Saturday. But New Mexico coming in with a 1-8 record, and the Aflac took them back home to pay for their medical bills. Aflac, they should have known. Oh, they should have known Nick Saban. Affleck will pay for your medical bills. Just come down here and get this butt whipping. We got to have an easy game before we get into the meat of the SEC championship game. But 1-8, give them praise for going down there if that makes sense to you. They needed the money. But it was a 59-3 beat down. The defense was solid, racking up 7 sacks, and the offensive line was pretty much improved, even without starting center Darian Dalcourt. And I think Alabama backed off, to be honest with you. New Mexico State should play down in the FCS, in my opinion. They just don't have the recruits down in New Mexico State. And New Mexico has a good program, but New Mexico, they're not the same level, and they went down to Alabama just to take the money. So, hey, if you got $1 million for going down to Alabama, there's guys that get beaten up for free. No wonder they went down and got the $1 million. They needed the money, and it's going to help their program. So I'm not knocking them. They were smart, and they went down there, and they did what they had to do to keep their program relevant. So I'm really proud of them going down there and using the duck. Affleck. Who scheduled that game? Who scheduled that game? It's all fair and level war. I'm going to go with number 1 in the college football universe. At least for now, until they get beat by Oregon. And I'm going to predict the game. I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. They're a dominant team. They're 10-0 in the season. The Georgia Bulldogs really like the way they've been playing football this season. The Georgia Bulldogs, they're 10-0 for the first time since 1982. Georgia is 10-0 to start the season. They steamrolled its way to the college football playoff appearance in 2017. They still have some work to do. They had a 41-17 win over Tennessee. We know Tennessee's good, but they're not Georgia good. Neyland Stadium was rocking to start the game. The Volunteers drove 77 yards, and they actually took a 7-0 lead, and people said, what? What in the world? What in the world? That's what they said, what in the world? And then Georgia came back and said, wait a minute. This is not the Bulldogs that you just upset in the past. Dogs racked up 274 rushing yards for the first time all season. Their defense allowed 2 touchdowns in the game and a field goal. It was the most points Georgia had given up in a game this season, 17. Tennessee's final touchdown came inside of the final 4 minutes, and Georgia held Tennessee to just 55 rushing yards, only 14 after the ball scoring drive to open the game. That's how good Georgia defense is. I still feel that if they run up against the Ducks, a dog and a duck, if they bet in real life, yeah, go with the dog. But in college football, go with the Ducks. Hey, you gotta believe you can win. You gotta believe you can win or why play the game. That's my Big C's college football power rankings. It's all fair and level war. We're gonna come back and talk about some NFL football. In the words of the former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. Are you ready for some football? Let's get ready to rumble. I love doing that. My goodness, got some NFL football, Big C's NFL power rankings, Big C's NFL power top 20. And then there are also some teams that are not quite in the top 20, but they have their own work cut out for them. They got to work a little bit hard to get into Big C's top 20. It's all fair and level war. I love football, especially what happened last night in San Francisco, Santa Clara, where the 49ers, in front of a packed house at Levi Stadium, they were just amazing on their feet. They had the American flag stretched across the stadium, and from there on, it was the 49ers doing their bang-bang Niner games. There's gold and dim their heels. It's all fair and level war, and sometimes it sounds like a jet engine over at Levi Stadium. The crowd can be so loud. Really love it. Number 20 in Big C's NFL power rankings, the San Francisco 49ers. They're 4-5 on the season, and when you think about it, they've beaten the Rams 5 in a row. If you're pessimistic, you think, oh, well, it was just one game. But this team showed if they run the ball, you become a running game. Don't try to force Jimmy G to be a Steve Young. They were talking before the game. Don't try to force him to be a Joe Montana. Let him be who he is. Let him show the 5 yards and get yards after the catch. If they can do that, I think they'll be just fine. They still have a chance. They're 4-5. They could go 12-5 in the regular season. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's not too much to ask that if this 49er team can end up with, they say, 10-7 record, they can find themselves in the playoffs. That's just my opinion. So for the Bang Bang Niner game, there's gold to dim their heels. The 49ers, number 20, and Big C's NFL power rankings. Going to come number 19. The Minnesota Vikings, I said they would go across the country and win. They ended up beating the San Diego Chargers. They're 4-5 on the season. They play Sunday versus the Packers. The Niners play at Jacksonville, so it should be another win for for the 49ers. But the Vikings currently in the 8th spot in the NFC playoff picture, only a half game behind the 7th-seeded Carolina that have Cam Newton back. They're going to be a better team also. I think the 49ers will overtake the Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion. But in Week 6, when you think about it, they beat them in Week 6. So at 4-5, the Vikings must put together some wins to stay in the final 2 wildcard spots. We have Aaron Rodgers coming up. Also, they got the Bears coming up. It's all fair and level war. I don't really trust the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't like that. I don't like that. It's all fair and level war. Number 18, my goodness, I'm putting them in at number 18. The Las Vegas Raiders. They're 5-4, but my goodness, they've gotten beaten down lately. I know they had some off-the-field issues to deal with, from John Gruden to Henry Ruggs III, and just turnovers. It's all fair in love and war. So I'm going to just tell you this. When you think about it, it's so important. They play the Bengals Sunday there's no reason that they should lose this game. They play the Bengals. They're at home. I talk about where's the beef, what's all this exotic meats. There's a guy that I played football against back in high school named Icky Woods. And he played with Tim McDonald. They both went on to play NFL football. But Icky Woods was amazing, the Icky Shuffle. They can't Icky Shuffle their way out of this game against the Raiders. The Raiders' season is on the line, like the 49ers season was on the line last night. If you think about it, I'm just telling you, this Raider got to win. They're 5-4, a brand new stadium. They can't blame John Gruden anymore. They got to turn things around. They started 5-2 after they had an embarrassing defeat against the Giants, and then they got beaten up by the Chiefs. They got to get their hairs back in the game, all fair and level war. Number 17, I'm back. The crowd in Carolina just clapped for the great Cam Newton. Give that good boy some praise. You can't keep him down. All fair and level war. Cam Newton is back. They're 5-5 on the season. They play Sunday versus Washington. His old coach, Ron Rivera, could have also brought him in. And now Chase Young is out. I think Carolina's going to roll over Washington. It could have gone to either team. But he went back home to Carolina, where he played in the NFL for about a decade. And when you think about it, Carolina likely will need one win to make the playoffs. A win with Washington coming up this weekend. The Panthers have lost 3 straight at home and must take care of business at Bank of America Stadium. And I think this is going to be, some people say, an emotional return for the former Carolina coach, Ron Rivera. Not really. These guys are focused on football. But as Cam Newton returning as a starter, I think it's going to carry Carolina to an emotional win over Ron Rivera and the Washington football team. It's all fair and level war. Give the Bank of America crowd some praise that they snapped their losing streak. All fair and level war. Cam's going to do a thing. Number 16, Indianapolis Colts, 5-5 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. There are 7 AFC teams currently with records of 6-4 or 5-4, and then 5-5 in the race for one of the region, the final 2 playoff spots in the AFC. The Patriots are rolling. They could make the playoffs if they were to start today. I think the Patriots are going to figure out they're going to knock off a playoff team or make themselves a playoff team. But when you think about Indianapolis, I don't have a lot of hope for Indianapolis. Carson Wentz doesn't seem, in my opinion, to be the guy that has... they're playing the Patriots this week. I think it will tell you everything you need to know about the Patriots and the Colts and what direction they're heading. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 5-3-1. No Big Ben, no big win. All fair and level war. Hey, I like that. That's a rhyme. No Big Ben, no big win. Let's do that. We should make a song about it. No Big Ben, no big win. Oh, Rudolph, no. Mason Rudolph, not the guy. For the Steelers, the AFC North is wide open. Despite tying the winless Lions, the Steelers are number 2 in the division, trailing just the Ravens. Technically, even remaining in the division, games is important, but the Steelers still have plenty to play. The Ravens twice, including a Week 18 matchup in Baltimore. But no Big Ben, no win. They got to keep Big Ben Roethlisberger healthy. Number 14 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings, Cleveland. This is for you, the Cleveland Browns. My goodness, they got beat down. Cleveland was whipping that backside. They said, get out. Don't come back. Wow, despite all the talk about Odell Beckham Jr. being an issue, well, he wasn't there. They can't blame him now. How's Baker Mayfield even in the talk for $25 to $40 million? They have an up-and-down performance, the Browns. They're still in the thick of the AFC North race. Knocking off the Ravens at Baltimore on Thanksgiving could help. I don't think they're going to do it. But the Browns can take control of the North with a week bye. They got a bye week coming up. And then the rematch with the Ravens in Cleveland. But I don't have a lot of faith in Cleveland. Too many issues are going on with that program. I just don't want to put a lot of trust in them. Number 13, Big C's NFL Power Rankings. The Cincinnati Bengals are 5-4. They play the Chargers December 5th. The Chargers don't seem to want to win games. When you think about it, Cincinnati's going to be an underdog in 6 of its final 8 games. They're going to probably beat a couple of those teams. But that means Cincinnati will need to steal a couple of games to make the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. They were fool's gold. They fooled us. But they got a Week 13 tilt against the Chargers, and it's a pick'em game. And Los Angeles is favored by a half a point. I think Los Angeles will beat them. They also have games at Denver versus Baltimore and Kansas City and at Cleveland. I'm not liking Cincinnati's chances of a playoff. Number 12 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings, the Los Angeles Chargers. Man, I don't know how to pick them. They look good at times, and other times they look like they don't want to win. But they play Sunday versus the Steelers. That's a big game. It's the next game. It's essential the Chargers try to win this game. For the Steelers, no Big Ben, no win. If they want to win, they got to have Big Ben back. The Chargers have lost 3 out of the past 4, allowing him. They've had a 4-1 start to the season. They were rolling, but now they come back down to what they've been. The offense was stagnant against Minnesota. Only had 253 yards and losing the time of possession by 12 minutes. What's going on with the Chargers? You would think any team that has a lightning bolt on the side of the helmet would win, at least at home, but they didn't. Lightning bolts are not. I'm going to go number 11 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings, the New Orleans Saints. Who that say they're going to beat them? Saints, they're 5-4. They play the Panthers. Oh, my God, that's an important game coming up, but that's next year on January 2nd. I think when you think about it, the Saints will try to avoid their first 3-game losing streak since 2016. I don't know if it's going to happen for them. They seem a little bit just not working properly together. No Jameis Winston, though. But when you think about it, a Week 16 home date against Carolina, that's a big game that may decide if they get into the playoffs or not, or if they'll be watching it at home. It's all fair and level. But they're a really good football team defensively, but I just can't count on them. Something's missing with them, and obviously we know they had Jameis Winston's no longer playing because he has a torn ACL. Number 10, Big C's NFL Power Rankings, New England Patriots. What a good team, Bill Belichick. Most important remaining games, December 6th at Buffalo, December 26th home versus Buffalo. The Patriots are surging. They are a dominant defensive team. They just beat down the Cleveland Browns. That's a sign of things to come. The AFC East leading Buffalo Bills will go a long way toward their tournament in the division championship. December 6th game is on a Monday night in Orchard Park, New York. But I think with Bill Belichick, they'll probably win both of those games. I mean, they're at least going to split. Most likely win both. Number 9 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings, Baltimore Ravens 6-3. The most important game for them is, you could say the Browns, but I still think Big Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers right there with the Baltimore Ravens are going to make a lot of noise. The Browns still projected as the Ravens' biggest threat in the division with about 20% chance of winning the AFC North. I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be at Pittsburgh. A Week 14 game comes after the Ravens play at Pittsburgh. That, to me, is going to decide the AFC North. It's a physical conference. Big Ben, no win for the Steelers. Got to get Big Ben back in the saddle. Number 8 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. How about giving it up for touchdown Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? The Chiefs are doing their thing. Man, they had a big win against the Raiders. It's amazing how they played. The Chiefs moved into sole possession of first place by beating up on the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. Kansas City just a half game up on both the Chargers and the Raiders. And touchdown Patrick Mahomes seems to have found his groove back. If Patrick Mahomes can get his groove back, I like what the Kansas City Chiefs will be able to do. It's all fair and level. No more turnovers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, number 7 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. They're 6-3 on the season. Most important remaining game, Monday night versus the Giants. Reason why? Brady seems to be jinxed against the Giants. Against the New York Giants, when you think about it, the Buccaneers have dropped 2 in a row for just the second time in the Brady era down in Tampa Bay, as the Buccaneers fall to 6-3. That's not a bad fall, but you fall to 6-3. But they look like a total shell of themselves at Washington, which is not really a good team. Bruce Arians said, we play it like crap, but you got to look at the head coach. Quit coaching like crap, your team quit playing like crap. Number 6 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings, the 6-3 Buffalo Bills, most important game, December 6th versus the Patriots. And then December 26th at the Patriots, right after Christmas. You don't want Bill Belichick sitting under that Christmas tree with that frown because he's a GOAT that knows how to win and shut down quarterbacks. But the Bills have big matchups against the Buccaneers. Could be a loss there. And the Saints on the schedule plus New England twice. But the key games remaining are versus the Patriots. And then Buffalo leads the AFC East with a chance to win the division for the second straight year. But this New England team scares me. They have Mac Jones as a rookie. He's on pace to have one of the better rookie seasons in New England era, all fair in love and war. Number 5, bang, bang, night again. You know what the Rams cheerleaders were saying last night? There's gold in them their heels. The 49ers jumped out to a 14-0 lead against the Rams. But the Rams are still a good team. I was saying Odell Beckham Jr., they got to get their timing right with Matthew Stafford. And then you had Kittles. He gave a pancake block to, oh my goodness, Von Miller was on his back like an ironing board. But they got to get their ceiling. They got to get their legs back under them. It's all fair and level war. But the Cardinals, when you think about it, coming up for the Rams, are in the first place in the NFC West. They easily beat the Rams 37-20 in Week 4. When those squads will meet again, it's going to be in December. This time on Monday night. Could be a decider of the division champion in there. You have Coach Sean McVay saying the loss and the beat down to the Tennessee Titans. And also the 49ers beat them down. So they just got to get their groove back, like Stella got her groove back. But the early October loss to Cliff Kingsbury and quarterback Kyler Murray, it hurt them. But they'll get them at home this time at SoFi. I think the Rams will get things smoothed out. Number 4 in Big C's NFL power rankings, just my opinion, I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals are 8-2. They have a big game coming up December 13 versus the Rams. They were looking so good until they got beat down by Carolina. I know they're missing players. Everybody's missing somebody. But you got to go with who lines up on the field. The division has turned into a 2-team race between Arizona and the Rams. Bang Bang Niner game is right there on the heels. I think Seattle's out of it. But Bang Bang Niner game, the Niners can legitimately go 10-7. And that would help them. I think they found the groove last night. Run the football, do short passing games, and let the defense swarm to the ball. All fair and love and war. But the Rams and the Cardinals right now, they're in the driver's seat. And they're looking for the chance to win the NFC West. 3 weeks later, Arizona will play they'll visit the Cowboys actually for a game that could determine the entire NFC. I'm telling you, there's so much good football to be played in Big C's NFL power rankings. I'm going to say number 3. How about them Cowboys at 7-2? Got a January 2nd game against the Cardinals. A 4-game lead in the NFC East. When you think about all the teams that are trying to knock off the Cowboys, they got a big game December 2nd at New Orleans. It's a pretty big game, but I think the Dallas Cowboys will beat them up. The biggest in the Cardinals matchup is because the home field advantage in the NFC could be up for grabs. The Cowboys might feel that they owe Arizona a little too after they were beaten up 38-10 at AT&T Stadium a year ago. I think the Cowboys have revenge on their mind, and I think they'll get it. Number 2 in the NFL Big C's NFL power rankings. Let's get a drum roll, please, for the Tennessee Titans. How about them Tennessee Titans? No touchdown, Derrick Henry, but they can still run the ball. They have a big game, November 28th at the Patriots. I think the Patriots may get that win. For starters, this game will make Mike Vrabel's return to the stadium where he made his mark, a 3-time Super Bowl champion. And then the second time facing his former coach, Bill Belichick, the Patriots are 2-4 at home, and everyone's jumping on the Mac Jones bandwagon. Jump on that New England defense. I know Mac Jones is doing good passing the ball, has a passer rating of 69% completion rate. He doesn't have to throw a lot downfield. He throws short and under, get yards after catch. So I give Bill Belichick that Jedi mindset. Give him praise for understanding how to coach up a player to not get too ahead of himself and try to just let the game come to you, as a lot of guys say. The number 1 team in Big C's NFL power rankings. How about those Green Bay Packers? This sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all those exotic meats. They're 8-2. Touchdown Aaron Rodgers is back. They got a big game coming up November 28th versus the Rams. After Thanksgiving, to all the tryptophan, the Rams got to travel. The Packers have a realistic chance at the number 1 seed in the NFC. This team's been to the NFC Championship the last 2 years. They played the 49ers and got beat, and then they also played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home and got beat. So this is the team. They've been there. Most likely will make some noise getting there again this year. There's a lot of good teams, and it's hard to go there 3 years in a row. Kansas City's done it. it's just hard to do it. The Packers have a realistic chance at the number 1 seed. They've already beaten one of the other teams, only 2 losses. That's the Cardinals. And the Rams coming into Lambeau Field. Okay? That's a big-time game for Green Bay. Division games are important, and the Packers still have 4 of them left, including 2 with the Vikings. But this game, it will go a long way in determining who gets an NFL bye. All fair and level work. Give the Packers praise. Big C's NFL Power Rankings. Give them all praise. Really do appreciate that. I'm not forgetting about the teams that are not in the Power Rankings, but I want to, just like I don't do all the football teams for college football, I'm not going to do the same thing for the NFL. Let the teams that deserve to get the praise. It's all fair. That's Big C's NFL Power Rankings. I'm going to tell you, are you ready for some basketball? Of course you are. Because we have a short schedule for the NBA basketball. I want to touch a little bit about what happened in Los Angeles, where Anthony Davis gets kicked out of a game. And whatever he said to the official got him tossed. And he was tying his shoe. Thought that maybe they could have taken a timeout. Vogel could have taken a timeout, but he didn't. And you can't stop the other team that's already in possession. So whatever Davis said to get a technical, back in the era where they let players play, let the players play. People are not spending hard-earned money to come to an NBA arena to watch the officials blow a whistle. They come to cheer for their plans. And the big players, the big-time players who make big-time plays, that's why they come. They don't care how many times you blow your whistle. They come to see the players. It's a players' league. It's not an officials' league. I know people say, well, he must have said something wrong. I've been to so many sporting events, played sports at a college level, been around professional athletes, NFL, NBA, hockey, track and field, Olympic track and field athletes, and it's an emotional business. But if you're going to start throwing out marquee players, whether it's Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Dalla Dane, Giannis Antetokounmpo, if you throw out Durant, if you think about the times that people would pay hard money to watch Willis Reed play at Madison Square Garden, to see Patrick Ewing's foot all over the floor, if they saw Dr. J play in Philly, they saw Larry Bird do his thing in Boston Garden, if they came out and saw Kareem play with the Lakers, or Michael Jordan in the Chicago Bulls, they didn't come to see the official how many whistles can he blow. Oh, the player said a bad word. I guess he's got to blow a whistle. You don't have to blow a whistle. And that's what Adam Silver has to get in the mind. These NBA tickets are expensive, especially over in San Francisco. I mean, some of these tickets are as expensive as a car note. And you're going to throw out a player like a Draymond Green because if you got to wash his mouth out with soap. They used to call that corporal punishment with the spankers, with the teachers would use a ruler on the students. But my goodness, I know he got a T for using profanity. But as professional athletes, profanity is kind of a second language. Coaches use profanity. Players use profanity. Fans use profanity. But you don't throw out a marquee player because of profanity. You give them a warning. And maybe they were warning them. But if you're going to make it a rule to eliminate profanity from the NBA, I think you're going to have more people just choosing to watch at home on television. And that's not what the league wants. Officials get graded too, and some may have an axe to grind. I'm not saying you should use profanity, but raise your hand if you never use profanity. Anyone. People do it. And the crowd uses profanity all the time. But that's part of why they pay their money. So, just my opinion, you don't want to have people show up at a game to watch a ref call a foul or throw people out. So you got to be the bigger person and have some praise for that. Let's say the bigger person, quit throwing people out for using loose lips, sinking ships. No, you don't want to throw people out for that. What a game tonight we have in beautiful Brooklyn, Barclays Center. The Golden State Warriors, the league's best record right now. Steph Curry at the Brooklyn Nets, with Steph Curry going up against his old teammate. They won championships together, Kevin Durant, all fair and level. It's about those two guys in the supporting cast, whether it's Harden, Draymond Green, etc. It's all about Steph Curry and Kevin Durant doing their thing. I'm looking forward to Golden State getting that win. That game's already underway. In fact, almost concluded. And then the Philadelphia 76ers up in the Utah at the Wasatch Mountains to take on the Utah Jazz. And that should be a good game. I'm picking Utah to win that game. A little bit higher altitude is hard for people to go there and keep their lungs off fair and level. And then San Antonio Spurs at the LA Clippers in Los Angeles. So give it all some praise. Give it all some praise. It's all fair in love and war. Give it all some praise for the NBA schedule. It's all fair and love and war. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young men rumble. And Ali would say, with all these exotic meats, I love eating the Big C burgers that make me float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. With all these Big C burgers, I'm light on my feet. I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. That's why I love the Big C burger. You can love it too. It's all fair and love wars. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day. Have a super fantastic day. Thank you for following Big C Sports Podcast.